Time now for a look at what's been making headlines in the world's press. Nicholas Rushworth is here. He's been leafing through the papers for us. Nicholas, starting off in Iran.
The tension with Tehran, that's all over the press this morning. Iran last week threatened to choke off oil shipments through the Hormuz Strait if the EU slaps a ban on Iranian oil imports, and that is now in the offing. Look at this from the Chicago Tribune. It's headlining, "Go for Iran's oil jugular." It says the Europeans should deal a devastating economic blow to Tehran. It says Iranian threats to barricade the Hormuz Strait are hollow. Sticking with the reaction in the United States, the New York Times is warning that if Iran did follow through with threats, the oil price would skyrocket. And the facts there, 50% it reckons or more within days. And now it quotes energy experts in that report saying they believe Iran is using these threats to increase oil costs as retaliation for the recent tightening of sanctions. That's all in the context, of course, of what the West considers Iran's nuclear ambitions, which, of course, Iran denies.
And you've unearthed a cartoon for us on this story as well in the Gulf Times.
Well, the Gulf Times, in the Gulf News, in the United Arab Emirates has had this cartoon on its website for over a week now. It's still there. And now you can see the US approach to Iran. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is opening Obama's skull and blowing a trumpet to wake up Bush's old policy on Iran.
Okie-dokie. And what about the Iranian position on all of this?
Well, I turned to the Tehran Times, and it has a report about the Iranian Defense Minister Ahmed Vahidi's statement that the US presence in the Persian Gulf is damaging. Now, the quote there in that article that struck me was this one: "The enemy is seeking to create a commotion about the Hormuz Strait issue and sell its arms to various countries in the region." So that's standoff language, if ever there is standoff language. Thanks to our colleagues on the Arab desk here at France 24, I was able to look at a piece by the editor-in-chief of Al-Quds Al-Arabi. That's the pan-Arab paper based in London. Now, that man, the editor-in-chief of Al-Quds, Abed Al-Bari Atwan, looks at whether this is, between Iran and the West, a question of psychological warfare or now the real thing. Now, he argues that despite losing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Washington is now waiting for the trigger that will allow the White House and its allies to start an attack. So that's not good news.
OK, talking of attacks, wars, you've got a piece for us about a new arms race unfolding.
The Wall Street Journal Europe has got a two-page spread, an in-depth feature called "China Targets US Might by Bulking Up Its Military." It says that while US defense budgets are shrinking, China is building up a new class of ballistic missiles. Now, the paper there reports that they could strike a moving ship up to about 2,700 kilometers away. Now, that appears today in the paper as the US today will announce changes in its military strategy. It's going to cut around ground troops and beef up air and sea defences to cope with huge budget cuts over the next decade.
OK, very quickly, Nick, a little item on a famous scientist, Stephen Hawking. One mystery still eluding him.
Well, of course, we've gone through war on planet Earth. I saw a piece just to make a change, go out into outer space, and Stephen Hawking, possibly the world's most famous scientist who's shed light on the nature of space and time and black holes, is telling The Guardian today that the biggest mystery for him in the whole world is women. They are a complete mystery, he says.
Nick Rushworth, thanks very much for that roundup of the press.